Hello, everyone. I am Zoha, and this is another new exciting episode of Not So Mainstream. And today I have with me a very special guest, my favorite, Heather Poechman, who is an artist, an educator, and founder of RubiArt, which is an art and education company that provides creative solutions for social change. The company itself is my favorite because I've been associated with, a couple of things with Heather, and I really enjoyed it. And we'll discuss about that in detail in today's episode. So, to start with, Heather, how are you doing? How are things at your end?
I'm doing well. Things are really good. As you know, I recently moved from Kingston, where we had known each other, and where I've lived for the past 10 years, to a smaller community in Perth County near London. And so it's been a bit of a big change for me, but the community here has been so supportive, and I'm really grateful to be able to bring my art company to this area as well.
So good to hear that. All right. So, I want to start our conversation by asking you a question about the focus of your work. Like it's primarily on education, and then you connect arts and community factor into it. Could you walk us through the process of starting this practice, this art company? Like, what's the process behind it? What did inspire you to start it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, to kind of break it down into two parts, my artistic practice, I've been doing art since high school. I'm a self-taught artist. My main clients were, friends and family people. I think I was the only artist they knew, but it was just sort of a side hobby for me. I started my business in November of 2020. I think, like a lot of people, the pandemic really sort of changed how we looked at our lives. Not only were we spending a lot of time with ourselves, it really made me reflect on how I wanted to sort of grow in a career. And at the time, I was sort of going into a bit of burnout in my current job. And by September 2021, I actually left my job to pursue my art business full time. And it really evolved from being art as the end goal to using art as a vehicle for social change. And so that is, again, I think a product of the pandemic and a product of being in jobs where I felt I didn't really have sort of control over my ability to make change or help people in the way that I wanted to. And so becoming my own sort of boss, my own business owner, I saw just the potential that art could be used to create community, to strengthen communities, especially after such a period of isolation, and bring people together. And that's really what I wanted to do. And so that's, I would say, sort of the direction and a bit of the evolution of my company. And now, working towards sort of being in a new area off on my own, it's allowed me to think more about what it means to create an artistic practice that is driven by social change.
Interesting. And my favorite part of it is that it's not just like even the classes that you offer, they're not just art classes. They are driven by some message, some sort of idea behind it. While people are obviously making art pieces, but at the same time, they're contributing towards social change, as you said. So that's very remarkable. And I really appreciate you doing this. All right. So my next question to you is, as an artist, what is your biggest motivation and how do you keep up with your work? Because being in the creative industry, it's highly competitive, but at the same time, when you hear about being a creative or having an art or creative practice, it requires a lot of work to, keep up and upskill yourself or stay relevant, I would say, within that context. So how do you motivate yourself, keeping in mind all of these things?
That's a really great question. It's one that I've been really thinking of, especially this past year. My first year in business, I was coming off of a job that I was really burnt out by, and then I sort of felt really energized because I was, I'm going to be my own boss. and I really jumped into creating my art business. And I think just that excitement fueled me for a while, but I didn't take care of myself from the burnout of the previous job. And I pretty quickly burnt out in my new job. So I really had to stop and evaluate. I really had to take some time away and reflect on, this isn't, if my goal is to create community, I want to do it sustainably. It's not good to anyone, including myself, if I can't sustain the kind of growth and community that I really want to create. So for me, it's been a lot more balance, a lot more looking to automate tasks is a huge one. I'm sure that in the other entrepreneurs that you've spoken with, you're a business owner first. And with that comes, you are HR, PR, marketing, customer relations, finance, everything. And as someone who, a big driving force of the work that I do is community building, I was letting community building get to the backseat. And that's not what I want. So I find that, there's a lot of great programs out there that I can use to automate certain business systems so that, I'm not the bookkeeper all the time. I've hired an accountant. I'm not constantly trying to reply to every email individually. I have like a virtual assistant. So being able to sort of farm out some of those tasks has really allowed me to focus on what's more important, which is the community building, the community aspect for me. I have a friend who I think said it really well. They're a photographer, and they said, I'm not a photographer. I'm in the business of problem solving. And I feel, to me, that's kind of where I want to focus. I want to be an artist, but I am in the business of, community building, of problem solving. So I want to put a lot of focus on that. Not just all of the business stuff that comes with it. So I think that feeling very motivated by creating a community that I want to see in the world, whether it's through my queer self-expression event, I want a community where cool, queer, creative people get together and we all make art. So I created that. That feels very motivating, and when people show up to events like that, it feels very affirming that others are interested in seeing that same kind of community, that others are interested in building that community. So I feel like it's sort of this wheel that keeps turning, that keeps building, and continues that motivation.
Right, and I totally agree when you say that your goal kept you motivated. Like when we have seen people who let go of the goal, and then later on, they're not able to sustain, as you say, the business or the practice. So having that mindset and energy and focus on the goal is the way to go. That's great.
Yeah, I think for me, to just add one more point to that, I think community itself, that's another reason why it's so important to me, is that I feel that community is sustaining. It's a chance to build the people who are going to support me so that I can continue to do this further and further into the future. And I think that's why not only is it motivating to create it, I think it's also much more sustainable, because I think in my first year of business, I was really trying to go at it alone. And I'm realizing that, you need a team. You need a team of people. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you need other people with you who are going to come with you on your journey. Even if it's maybe not the whole journey, if they're there for just a part of it, that's what, keeps you going. That's what allows you to survive.
That's true. Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about the sounding board, community conversation that we worked on together, which I really enjoyed. How did you come up with this idea, and what does community conversation actually mean in this whole project?
I'm really excited to talk about this with you. One, because we were able to work on it together. You were such an integral part of its success. So I'm really grateful that we were able to work together. Sounding board, a community conversation is the full title, but I'll just call it sounding board for ease. Sounding board came out of a sort of a failed client project. A client had approached me. They wanted to do something similar, sort of a collaboration between businesses, and ultimately it didn't get funded, and so it didn't go through, and the client sort of pulled out of the project. But I was left with sort of the work we had done up until that point. I thought, this is such a cool idea, but I don't know what to do with this. And so I was sort of complaining to anybody who would listen. I'm like, oh, I've got all this stuff, but where do I put it? And someone suggested, why don't you write grants? And I thought, oh, I could fund this. I could fund this myself. And so I partnered up with the Kingston School of Art. And we just started writing grants together, and it really evolved. Originally, the project was just going to sort of involve me, but I thought this could be a platform for so many emerging artists, and it could be an opportunity to really involve the community and have it be an opportunity not just for the community to get to know these emerging artists, but especially as an emerging artist, having gallery space, having exhibition opportunities, adding that to your resume at such a pivotal time in your career really just put your foot in that door. And it's huge. It can be life-changing for an artist to be able to say, particularly because this project, we had it on display for 6 months, which is unlike most exhibitions don't last for 6 months. So to be an emerging artist, to have that on your resume, to be able to talk about the ways in which you collaborated with other artists and create community with other artists, that to me was already, it felt like a success. So when we got funding from the City of Kingston Arts Fund, I felt like even before the project had kind of been on exhibition, I felt like it was a success because we were able to bring together, 8 emerging artists who were able to contribute to the project. So that was really amazing.
That's great. And to all the people who are listening and watching this from Kingston, we have a closing exhibition on May 27th. I will put the details of the location and time in the description so that you can visit and see this remarkable work and meet the artists, because they're going to be there and they can, you can have conversation about their art. So that would be really special. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. If I could add one thing about the closing exhibition, it's that if you've already seen Sounding Board, for anyone who had seen Sounding Board as it traveled around Kingston for those 6 months, the closing exhibition is a little bit different because as Sounding Board has been traveling, it's been collecting contributions from the public. And so that's sort of where the conversation bit comes in. It's, it is quite a literal conversation between the artist and the community, the artist and the viewer. And so when someone comes to the closed exhibition, they're able to see not just the original artwork that sort of inspired the conversation, but they're able to see how the conversation evolved and all of the contributions that have been added throughout Sounding Board's travels. So I'm really excited to see it and be there. And so,
I'm really looking forward to it because I enjoyed the whole process. The artists, like emerging artists, all of them are, amazingly talented. So I'm really looking forward to it, definitely.
Me too.
All right, let's talk about your art classes and, the services and classes that you offer. They're not just art instruction modules, as I said before, but they're connected to some theme, idea, or expression, making it like a wholesome experience of art, and also the impact that you aim to, have on the community. So why do you think it's important, and why do you think incorporating art into addressing or expressing various important topics and issues in the community is important?
So for me, art is, I think, a very powerful tool for social change. And so that's why I wanted to pivot my art workshops, not all of them, because I think art for art's sake is still valuable. But I did want to pivot some of my workshops away from, just the how to paint, how to draw, towards elevating awareness of important topics that are often suppressed. I want to use my workshops to build community. So some workshops I'm thinking of is I'm offering a body positivity workshop, and a big part of that comes from wanting to counter fat phobia, wanting to celebrate bodies in all forms. Another workshop that I've mentioned earlier was, my queer self-expression event. And for me, that event is really about creating community. It is also about working on, your own artistic practice, but at a time when there is a lot of communities that are working very hard to suppress queer rights, queer community, queer ability to sort of rally together. And I think one of the challenges is that when you're a person who's a part of a marginalized group, the worst thing that you can feel is that you're alone and that you're isolated and that you're fighting these challenges alone. And I think that's sort of what a lot of these loud voices want you to think. They want you to think that it's only you that cares about this, and that there's nothing you could do about it because you're one person. But there's so much that can be done with community. And so by creating this queer self-expression event, by creating my other workshops, by bringing people together to unite sort of over a common interest, a common cause, a common community, I feel that we're able to see the power in that, and feel, I'm not alone, and that I am able to be sort of an agent of social change. I am able to create social change even just by being in this group at all, So for me, I would say that that's a big part of how I look to organize a lot of my workshops. And why, again, community is my main driving force, and why it's such a huge part of each of my workshops.
That's great, and it definitely shows. I also believe, the thing you said about art being, very powerful in creating impact, and then, everyone sharing their expression or how they're feeling or experiences, anything at all, making that big of an impact, even in lives of maybe, a group of 3 or 4 people, even then it's important and impactful, because then those people will, continue with the same spirit and, keep giving it forward, I guess. So it does, in fact, create a really huge impact, and really appreciate, again, you doing this.
Yeah, and just like you said, I feel that art in and of itself, can be a tool for healing. So, when you're faced with, I think, a lot of topics and, conversations that feel really challenging, using art as a tool to kind of, do some self-reflection, do some self-healing, and address a lot of those big, scary emotions that come up, and having a group that is open to helping sort of process that in a creative and warm, safe space, that, yeah, it's really important to me. And so I feel very grateful that I'm able to have this company where, I can take it in the direction that I want.
Great. So what are your future plans? What is coming ahead? What can we, look forward to, except obviously for the sounding board event? What's next for you, and what do you have?
So I would say lots of art workshops. So I am traveling sort of all over Ontario this summer. So if people are interested in learning more about my workshops, and staying up to date with some of the new workshops that I'm offering, I would encourage them to sign up for my newsletter on my website. I'm also doing a lot of art collaborations that are coming up. So a collaboration that I'm working on right now, it's not available to the public yet, but I'm collaborating with drag performers, including some non-binary drag performers, which I'm really excited about, especially as a non-binary person. And I'm also teaming up with a local queer nonprofit to hopefully sort of expand my current queer self-expression event, and bring it to other places, and maybe have it be sort of a part of a speaker series. So there's lots of great things in the works, along with, my already existing workshops that are coming up this summer. And like you said, Sounding Board, our closing exhibition is on May 27th, starting at 6 p.m. at the Kingston School of Art. So If anyone's in the Kingston area or they're interested in learning more about Sounding Board, I would encourage them to come out and see the way in which the conversation has evolved.
Interesting. And your summer is like, seems really busy and also very exciting, which is great. And I really appreciate what you are doing because it's unique and it's not just for you as an artist, but as you said, having that goal of creating that strong community is very important. It's what we need. And I hope, and I know for sure, like people are definitely, getting so much out of it. And having that sense of, that they're not alone, which is important to feel. So I really appreciate whatever you're doing. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so grateful that you were able to be a part of Sounding Board too, and that we were able to team up in that way. So that makes me really happy to have you involved.
I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the event.
Yeah.
With that, we will end our video here. I will put all the details about the website, workshops, and events that are coming up by Heather in the description so that you can go there and check it out. And with that, I will see everyone in the next video.